Perhaps no individual did more to influence the course of Russian history than his first emperor, Peter the Great. Standing 6 feet 8 inches tall and possessed of indomitable will and boundless energy, Peter was a modernizer whose overriding goal was to cure Russia of its traditional backwardness and transform it into a great European power. Fascinated by the sea and wanting to discover for himself what life was like in the West, in 1697 the 25-year-old Tsar undertook a journey that brought him to the bustling ports of Europe, where he learned to build ships and where he recruited officers to staff the modern army he planned to create. Returning to Moscow, Peter abolished his old army, the Streltsy, and shaved the beards of his boyars, now expecting them to dress and behave like the Europeans he had met on his travels. But even as the Muscovite state embraced 2 continents, its access to the sea was blocked in the south by the Ottoman Empire and in the north by the Kingdom of Sweden. First, Peter defeated the Turks, opening a path to the Black Sea. But it was the war with Sweden that would transform Muscovy into a European empire possessing the machinery of a modern state. Lasting for more than 20 years, the Great Northern War was fought across a landscape that stretched from the Baltic Sea to the fields of Ukraine. The Tsar personally took part in the campaigns, leading the attack on the port city of Riga, the linchpin of a crumbling Swedish empire. It was on a swamp near the Baltic Sea that the Tsar began the construction of his new capital city, St. Petersburg. Whereas ancient Moscow represented backwardness, St. Petersburg would be a European city, a Russian Venice adorned with canals and palaces, monuments and museums. St. Petersburg would soon be known as Russia's window on the West. Yet the new capital also displayed the dark side of Peter's reign. For Peter to realize his vision of a modern capital city, tens of thousands of Russian peasants were conscripted into construction gangs. It was said that St. Petersburg was built on bones. Like France's King Louis XIV, Peter was an absolutist who demanded competence and obedience. Upon those he favored, the Tsar bestowed riches and status. Those who crossed him faced swift and merciless punishment. Suspecting his sister Sophia of treason, the Tsar locked her away in a convent, the same fate that had befallen his first wife, Evdokia. Still grimmer was the outcome for his son, Alexis, who fell under the Tsar's suspicion and died under interrogation. No Russian was untouched by Peter's reforms. Abolishing the Patriarchate, Peter asserted the state's dominance over the Orthodox Church. Abandoning Moscow for St. Petersburg, the Tsar commanded his boyars to join him and live as European noblemen. As for Russia's serfs, life under Peter grew only harsher, for it was the peasants above all who paid the costs of Russia's modernization. Few figures in Russia's history have been more controversial than Peter the Great. Some lament his coercive methods. Others regret his efforts at modernization and westernization, arguing that Peter tore Russia away from its traditional roots and divided the nation. What cannot be disputed is Peter's will to transform his backward country into a powerful European empire.